day everyone! In this lesson, we will be talking about assessment methods in distance learning. But before we dive into that, let us take a look about what is assessment. The form of assessment that you are probably most familiar with is the grade you earn from a paper and pencil test. However, any feedback that allows you to see learning is a form of assessment, even as low-key as good work, good job, after the class is a form of an assessment. The first type of assessment is the assessment for learning, or what we call the formative assessment. Assessment for learning is an ongoing assessment that allows teachers to monitor students on a day-to-day basis and to modify their teaching based on what the students need to be successful. This assessment provides students with the timely, specific feedback that they need to make adjustment to their learning. Questions after the lesson such as, do you have any questions about topic? Do you need more clarification? These are actually examples of formative assessment under informal. Examples also are think, pair and share, exit tickets, questionnaires, and behavioral checklists. There are a lot of formative assessments that we use in our everyday classes. The second type is the assessment of learning, which is the summative assessment. Assessment of learning is the snapshot in time that lets the teacher, students, and their parents know how well each student has completed the learning tasks and activities. It provides information about students' achievement. While it provides useful reporting information, it often has less effect on learning. Most of the time, it is our exam test or the paper and pencil test. Let's take a look on the similarities and differences of formative and summative assessment. A while ago, it is mentioned that formative assessment is an assessment for learning. It is informal in nature and intended to help identify students' strengths and weaknesses, given at any time during teaching and learning process, used to check effectivity of the instruction. Results of the formative assessment are not necessarily recorded and will help teachers make good instructional decisions suited for different learning abilities. Formative assessments attempt to measure learning as it is forming or happening, while on the other hand, summative assessment is an assessment of learning. It is conducted to describe the standard reached by the learner. It is given at the end of a particular unit, and results of the summative assessments are recorded and used to report on learners' achievement. Summative assessment sums up the learning that has already happened. Both of these assessments are conducted by teachers to track and measure learners' progress and to adjust instruction accordingly. That is the reason why assessment is called assessment for learning, assessment of learning, and assessment as learning. These are actually the three functions of assessment. We may know everything about assessment, being it formal, informal, formative, summative, or even different types of this assessment. But the question is, how are we going to use this knowledge in the new normal education? This is actually very timely that the Department of Education had given us LDM 2 course, which is actually putting everything into place before the opening of the classes. Assessment methods in distance learning. We don't have any face-to-face interaction with our students. That is the reason why we really need to think of different methods in order for us to really assess or to give credible assessment to the learning that will happen based on the instruction or based on the learning modalities that our students will be having. In our Module 3A, they had given us this example. They had given short quiz and then how to adopt the assessment method in the distance learning. In our example for our module, it said that I will send a 3-item quiz via text message before the lesson. Based on the responses, I will take note of the common misconceptions and clarify them to the learners during our online session or via text message. They are actually giving us an idea on what will happen during the instruction for the different learning modalities. For this lesson, I will be giving samples on what we can do for our lessons. For the first example, I also used short quiz. So this is how I will adopt the assessment method in distance learning. We have first the online distance learning, which is to create interactive quizzes using online apps such as Quizzes, QuizStar, Easy Test Maker, iSpring Quiz Maker, Classmaker, and others to assess the learner's knowledge before and after the lesson. If you have used Quizzes, you will know that right after answering the questions, the students will get the feedback or the results of the assessment. For TV-based instruction or the digital, we can send assessment videos and files made from CourseLab, Wondershare, or any other apps for the students to answer. Answers will be collected through Messenger and emails. For modular distance learning, this is actually on the printed side. Quizzes on the printed module will be collected in 2 ways. The student can send their answers through text message or they can drop it on the designated community learning area. For the second example, this is for performance tasks or demonstration. We can still do individual or group performance tasks. For individual performance tasks, you can ask students to pass video of their tasks, for example, poem recitation, reporting, doing simple experiments, and others to measure their understanding about a topic. Prior to the demonstration, guide them on how to safely do the task. So most especially if you're a science teacher, before giving them the task, discuss with them the guidelines and the safety measures. For group performance tasks, group the students into 3 to 5 members where they can work collaboratively even if they are at home. For example, give them tasks on creating a presentation about the topic. One member can write the script while others can work on the music, background layouting, and other related works. This will ensure that everyone works to accomplish the goal. Their outputs will be shared or sent through Messenger, Zoom meeting, and email. For examination, similar with the quizzes, the examination will be given through online platforms and will be collected through Messenger or text messages. And for printed, the students can write their answer on their paper and submit it in the designated community learning center. Essay exam or letter to the editor. This is actually for most of the English classes are doing. We have essay exam. For online distance learning, students can post or submit their reflections or insights about the topic through social media platforms. We have a lot. So they can post it on Facebook, for instance. And then we also have modular distance learning. Students can be instructed to be creative. They can write their reflections or insights on a piece of paper, of a decorated paper. That is for making them present their work in creative ways. And then we also have dynamic duo, the think, pair, share activity. For online distance learning, which is actually very easy if we are having the synchronous type of teaching, have the students work in pair. For example, their task is to give examples of noun. Give each pair at least 2 minutes to give as many as they could. Whoever give the most number will win. Honestly, if we're going to have the assessment method in the synchronous type, if we are having synchronous, it's actually very easy. There are a lot of assessment methods that we can use in distance learning. Example of that would be peer assessment. With peer assessment, we can remind our students to be constructive in giving peer feedback. Peer feedback can be conducted online via discussion board where students post their work, or in a synchronous tool, example Skype, Zoom, Google Meet, and so on, where students discuss each other's work. Project-based assessment. So with project-based assessment, it is also called the independent projects. So we can have the project around research topic, problem-solving activity, a creative activity, or a mix of different learning opportunities. Self-assessment. This one is actually very helpful for us. This is invaluable in online environments where we cannot actually see our student learning in action. A student's reflection on their own learning reveals their understanding and precisely locates the gaps and difficulties that need intervention. Learning journals. With the journals, students can write regularly about their own learning, and this will provide us with a constant source of formative assessment. It also builds students' metacognitive abilities, or their ability to think about thinking. Portfolios. Just like what we are having right now for our LDM course, we are given modules and then our outputs will be placed in a portfolio. So these are actually perfect for assessment for the distance education. Video presentations and podcasts. Oral assessments function even more effectively online than they can do in the classroom. With this one, they can actually create just like vlogs or presentations as for the assessment. Also, we can use online discussion. This can be factored into summative assessment if you clearly specify the criteria being addressed. You might use it to assess a student's content knowledge, written communication, participation, collaboration, or ability to make connections. These are some examples of the assessment methods that we can adopt to distance learning. And to sum up the discussion, let us all be reminded that the most important thing about assessment does not rely on how assessment is defined, but on how assessment information is used. As teachers, I know that we are creative and flexible enough to adjust, to reinvent our assessment methods in order for us to achieve our goals, and that is to deliver quality instruction for quality education. So that's it for today, and see you again next time.